Hello, my friends, I'm Ben. Today we're talking about struggling to speak up. And if this is you, there's a very good reason why. We're going to jump into 7 signs first. Quick caveat, I'm not talking about speaking up in situations where it might genuinely be dangerous. If you're in an abusive relationship, for example, it might be dangerous to do so. But in most relationship settings, it's more freeing to speak up. And that's what we're talking about here. So the first sign is that you are continuously monitoring what you are saying and how other people are reacting. So you're sort of got this hypervigilance of just continuously noticing how what you're saying is landing in other people, because that feels really important to your own safety. It's like, okay, I've got to be okay. People have got to be happy with what I'm saying. I've got to keep everyone happy. It's kind of the vibe of that. The second one, which is related, is that you kind of plan and rehearse what to say. So this might be at a party, you've sort of plotting something in your head that you know is going to be good. Or it could be, when you're texting someone, you might draft it several times. Rather than just saying what's on your mind kind of straight, there's this very perfectionistic sort of over editing of a message to make sure it lands just right. Again, you're kind of like trying to manage the other person in this to make sure their response is what you need it to be. And sometimes you got to think a little bit about what you say, but this is, I think you know what I'm talking about, of that feeling. I used to do this a lot. I still do, of just sitting there for 15 minutes, just making sure I carefully plot out what I need to say, because it feels scary to just say it straight. The third sign is that you might struggle to get clear on your preferences and your needs and to state them. And this happens particularly in groups. So the group might be making a decision and it's like, hey John, Sally, what do you think? I don't mind, tends to be the classic response. Like, yeah, I'm chill, I'm cool, I don't mind. Even when you actually have quite a strong preference or a need in that moment. And or in relationship, you might find it hard to ask of your partner what you need. You might put up with quite a lot, or just give up lots of reasons or excuses for certain aspects of their behavior that you don't like and need them to change in order for the relationship to work. But it's like we sort of lack. It feels really threatening and unsafe and scary to acknowledge the need, and even more so to then express it. The next one is that you would hide your opinions and views. So you might leave the cinema having watched a movie and they go, oh, that was a terrible movie. And you actually really liked it. And there's like I thought it was okay. You temper, you might just say, yeah, it was really bad. Or you might temper it, but I thought it was okay, actually. You don't just go, I thought it was awesome. Because there's a sense it might create conflict going against what someone else says. And so those opinions and views that might create conflict might not help us keep everyone happy in that way we've learned to do. We learn to censor ourselves instead, to kind of manage other people around us. The fifth one is that we betray ourselves. We say yes when we mean no. We say no when we mean yes. And in that, we actually disconnect, from ourselves in order to do that. And we're doing that for innocent reasons. All of this is totally innocent. It's us, our nervous system is trying to keep us safe. But it's doing so at a cost, and the cost of that is this self-betrayal, which can be, it feels okay in the moment. You kind of like, okay, well, I'll just say no, even though I mean yes, and it'll be fine. But after 10 years of that, 20 years of that, it transforms us into something else. It doesn't feel good. A sixth sign is physically. You'll notice you go quiet. You might feel tension in the body. Certainly not able to relax around people. You might shut down. And this is, again, along with kind of the I don't know why I've got these little eyes things going. They're kind of the hypervigilance. It's like a little insect antenna. The hypervigilance of that constant monitoring, that's kind of the flavor of it. So you can get a sense of that. And there are kind of 2 flavors of it. I'll get into that in a moment after these signs. And the last one is that being around others is draining. This is because here you're really not being yourself. You're kind of managing yourself, and you're managing others the whole time. And that's why it's so painful, and why this is such an important topic. You might ask, what does it matter whether I speak up and speak my truth or not? It's because in order not to speak your truth, that takes a lot of effort. You're continuously managing yourself, and it disconnects you from yourself as well. At the same time, it twists who you are. It kind of twists your soul. And again, each time you do it, it twists it just an almost imperceptible amount. But like I said, over decades, that twisting you end up this very distorted person. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel solid. You don't know who you are and what you want. You learn to suppress and push all that away, disconnect from all of it, just to continuously chameleon your way through life, keeping all the people around you happy. And again, it's like you're kind of like a frog being boiled alive. It happens one little denial at a time, but over time it really builds up. Actually, I forgot the most important sign, which I'm adding as a bonus one here. That is the throat feels tight and constricted, often the chest as well, because the throat is obviously where our expression lives, where our voice lives. And you almost always feel a constriction or a contraction in that area. So doing work to investigate that can actually be really, really freeing. So what is this phenomenon? It's not like a lack of confidence per se. It's not that you don't have anything interesting to say either. It's a protection mechanism, at the core of which is this basic idea is that something in you, your truth doesn't feel safe to reveal, to be seen. And that if you are fully yourself, love and approval is going to be withdrawn. And you're going to feel the rejection and aloneness at the heart of that. And this is a big deal. Again, what's going on the surface is you with some friends talking about a film, maybe. But deeper down, there's always an interaction of like, am I safe? Am I approved of? Am I going to be alone? This is what's going on under the surface, which goes really deep and feels really powerful, which is why this is such a difficult thing to deal with. But it's that lack of love, that sense we're going to be rejected, is what's driving this change in our behavior. And it protects us in two ways. There's kind of two flavors that I was talking about earlier. The first is more of a freeze. This is like when you feel really wired but stuck. There's like there's like fear in the system. There's fight or flight energy, but it feels trapped. There's like a lid that's come down on it. And so you're quiet, but you feel really activated. Like that's what sort of anxiety is like. That's when you're in the more planning mode. There's this activity of planning, overthinking, managing, monitoring, but it's all kind of got a lid on it. It's all kind of contained, and you feel very stuck and frozen. The second one is when you get more shut down. This is when you kind of space out. You're more withdrawn and disengaged. It's not a flurry of planning. It's more like you don't really know what's going on. You kind of space out and go quiet in that way. And these are both slightly different flavors of how your nervous system tries to protect you by shutting down these natural activities and keeping you quiet and small, because being quiet and small, it feels somehow safer. If I'm quiet and small, that I can't do or say anything that might upset people, that might lead them to reject me, and all that hurt and aloneness and rejection will come up. And that'll feel overwhelming. And this is kind of the chain of how this all works. And underneath all that frozenness, that shutdown, underneath, this is where the more vulnerable emotions live that are really driving the whole thing. Like I said, that aloneness, that hurt. And these all come from earlier times in our life where we would have been taught that it's not okay to be ourselves. And the way that, the way we learn is by emotions coming up to force us down different paths. So as an example, say your mother parentified you. What that means is that she made you an adult who she could lean on before you were old enough to be one. Some adults do this to their children. So you had to, as a child, say, if you're a little girl, you have to listen to your mum and listen to her woes and kind of support her and meet her needs and push your own to the side. And you learn very quickly that if I do that to mum, I get love and approval. Whereas if I say, hey no mum, I actually need this and I need this and I need this. I need you to look after me. I need you to step up. I need you to take me to my friend's house because I need to play. I need to learn. if you say all that, mum's gonna get upset, get angry, and you'll feel that feels really scary, can bring up a lot of hurt. And so you comply and you support your mum. You push your own needs to the side and you learn that, okay, my voice doesn't matter. What my needs don't matter. Or perhaps it might be the case that, maybe you're just too loud. You express yourself freely as a child, as they do, and you just got shh continuously. The sense of shh, you're too much. Don't say anything. Don't speak. Don't do that. Shh. Over time, that wears you down, and you just get quieter and quieter and smaller and smaller. And in these ways, there's this creates this well of shame and fear that's within us. That's what's, when they go, we feel afraid of losing that connection. And so we slowly get a little bit quieter. They do it the next time we're afraid of losing the connection to our parents, and so it goes round and round and round. So what do you do about this? You can't will your way through it, right? When we're in that freeze, that shutdown, you can't just make yourself speak more, be yourself more. You can't take a charisma course. This is all mental stuff. It doesn't exist at this level. It exists at the level of the body. That's where the freeze lives. That's where the emotions under the freeze live. That's where the shutdown lives. That's where the emotions under the shutdown live. And you've got to learn to bring safety to that, to connect to your body in a way that feels safe. So that freeze can melt, that shutdown can relax, and you can start to get access to some of the emotions that are underneath. Like I said, it's the hurt, the aloneness, whatever it might be. There are other videos I've got that you can check out. There's quite a few on freeze and shutdown now, where you can have a look at how to work through those. There's a new one I did on resourcing, which is how you can build safety in the body. There's a one called How to Create Safety in the Body, in fact. There's a video called How to Feel Your Feelings. So you can check those out for more details on how that might work. The essential idea is that you investigate at the level of the body these patterns. And as you do that, it can start to soften and open up. And then it can just simply feel more comfortable. It's like your chest and your throat feel lighter and more open, right? Because they're tight and contracted. And you feel that's what's holding in your voice. In fact, I forgot to mention that probably one of the biggest signs is that your throat feels tight and contracted. Because that's where your voice kind of lives. I do help people working with them one-on-one to assist them with this kind of work to guide them through. So if you're interested, then you can check out the links in the description below, and I'll see you later.